show by Chris and Neil with all great movies. They are the real deal. We watch them all, so you don't have to. It's movies that don't suck and some that do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, we are continuing our coverage of the Panic Fest. Today we have a very special guest. The man is the main reason we're going to have a ton of extra content coming out in the next couple of weeks. He is the brains behind the best genre fest in the world, as stated by Movie Maker magazine in 2019, 2020, and 2021. That is Panic Fest. Now, he does not only do Panic Fest, but he also has a website called downrightcreepy.com where they interview, review, and give you latest news sources on horror movies that are coming out. The great, the awesome, always seems like he's way better dressed than I am, Tim Canton. How you doing?
I feel like that interview or that introduction was way better than anything I've ever got. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Tim, right away, I want to say congratulations to 10 years of Panic Fest. It's 10 years of doing this, the 10th one. It's insane.
Yeah. Thanks, man. It's interesting because we always catch ourselves. We're like, it's 10 years. Technically, it's the 10th anniversary, and it's 9 years. But we never catch ourselves, and we're like, it feels like 10. So we've just stuck with it because we did 2 in 1 year, but we can get to that maybe later.
Yeah.
So if I could ask the first question to start off, and then Chris has a ton of them for you, because I got some research here, but I just want to know, where did the idea for the Panic Fest come from? Like, when was it? Like, I mean, 10 years ago, I think I was actually still living in Kansas City, so I know like kind of what the atmosphere was. Like, was it over like pints at Buzzard Beach, or was it like, we chilling? Like, where did the idea for Panic Fest at Kansas City come from?
Yeah, it was actually a mutual friend of Adam Roberts and I. Adam Roberts, the owner of Screenland. He had just taken it over, a few months prior, and I was looking to do some stuff with Alamo or Screenland for Downright Creepy to host events. So we were hosting like The Walking Dead and American Horror Story and some stuff like that, and then some movies. And one night after one of those screenings, Adam was like, hey, would you ever want to do a film festival? And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And it was like almost as simple as that. And then we got into the details of the first fest and quickly realized we had a lot to learn to put one together. And we continue to do so over the years. So yeah, it was a mutual friend, Dana Collins, who is actually someone who used to work for Allied Advertising locally, who promotes a lot of films, and then they left and she went to Alamo, and then she left there, and now she's just helping us with the fest and doing some stuff with Southern Documentary Film Company. So she was our origin story, and ironically, she's now doing our Director of Marketing and Public Relations for us. So it's full circle.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So I wanted to mention you guys showed some wild as fuck films. Like a couple years ago, one of my favorite movies I saw at the Panic Fest was Uncle Peckerhead, the world premiere of it. So as a punk rock kid, I really connected with that movie. So what criteria does a film have to meet to be shown at this festival?
Yeah, we get asked that quite a bit. I don't know if I have criteria for a film per se, but like I program the shorts, for instance. Adam programs the features, and then I have some weight on features. If you ask, like, what is your opinion, I'll give it. Or if I see something that maybe is falling on the radar, maybe he didn't think about, I'll say, hey, why don't we try and get this? And so we collaborate on that, but he's really holding down the features for the most part, and I'm holding down the shorts. So I can speak specifically for shorts that I try and program it a little bit, I think, like a DJ Midas set. Because I have to put these blocks together, and we have 53 of them because I just keep adding them. Adam keeps letting me, so I'm like, yeah, I'll take more because there's some good stuff here. So yeah, I kind of program it like a DJ, and we have so much time in each block, but I don't want to put 2 things in there about like a haunted doll or like some paranormal thing. You don't want to put them in the same block, and you don't want
like 2 webcams.
Minutes. Yeah, and you don't want like 15-minute films to just because it feels longer, so you kind of do an ebb and flow, and you'll do like a 3-minute one here and a 15-minute one here and make sure the content's different. So for me, it's about programming those blocks appropriately and not over-programming certain types of stuff and taking the best versions of those subgenres to put in that programming. I think Adam tries to do the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So I know this year you guys are bringing Joe Bob Briggs to do the last drive-in, which I'm sure everyone's stoked about. I'm super excited about it. What has been the coolest moment since you started Panic Fest for you, personally?
Oh man, two that stick out, I think immediately, are when we brought in last podcast on the left.
Yeah.
That was really cool for me. I was a fan of the podcast, and also that was our first year we really brought in a big podcast as something that wasn't just movie related.
Sure.
And it went over incredible. We sold out 2 shows for it.
Nice.
We brought in people that had never been to the festival, several from out of state that had never even been to Missouri. So I think that helped kickstart things into kind of a next level, which is interesting because it wasn't even film related per se.
Yeah.
But so many genre fans, love that. And then
it's horror adjacent for sure.
Yeah. And then for Movie Crypt, when we brought in Joe Lynch and Adam Green, we didn't know we were going to be the guest on the podcast until like 15 minutes before the podcast. So we're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that. That's awesome. And then Patty was on there, who brought in The Perished, who was, a big fan of their podcast, and Joe Lynch. And so it was like making his dream come true. And he came over from Ireland.
Yeah.
So that was just a great moment, like the whole night. And then lastly, I think for me in general is just seeing everyone's reaction to the shorts.
Sure.
I live with them for so many weeks and sometimes watch them 2, 3, 4 times and maybe more. If I like one of them a lot, I'll just watch it again for my own amusement, which is kind of weird and it feels like a punishment because why would I do that even more? But seeing the reaction to those, whether it's, in theater or if I can chat with someone in Gather virtually because we have virtual aspect of it, just getting the reaction to see if they liked what I liked, and the same reaction.
Yeah.
I want to talk.
Those are moments.
There's something you just mentioned there that I really want to touch base on my side really quick, and that is the Gather place that you guys created. This, what is it? 16-bit, 8-bit? I'm the difference between that. 16-bit. Yeah. This little, basically little cartoon that you can go into, and I was playing around with it on the last couple of days, just like made a little character and was wandering around myself. And not only can you go there and you can find reviews, find movies, find little clips and stuff like that. You can see our podcast, other podcasts. You can actually play Gauntlet. I played Gauntlet like a little bit last night.
Yeah,
I had to just go until I heard Warrior needs food badly, but. Who came up with that? Who came up with that gathering place that you? Because that is, I've been to a lot of film festivals in my 40 plus years on this planet, and I've never seen something like that where people could actually interact after the film. Where they don't have to actually stand in a lobby and but a virtual lobby instead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually saw Nightstream do it during the pandemic, and I was attending that, and I went in. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I started digging into it. Didn't even really intend for Panic Fest to use it at the time, but then I got kind of carried away because, full disclosure, I'm a designer for my day job, and I kind of started geeking out over it a little bit. And I went in and started doing more of an isometric design, so it's not even how they intend to use the platform, but I think it looks a lot cooler. And I was like, yeah, we could just bring the festival to life, especially during COVID and the hybrid last year, for all the people that were virtual, and try and have them experience the theater in some ways in this digital world. And I think I've really enhanced it this year to make it feel even more like the theater and the lobby, and added extra rooms. There's hidden rooms in there. There's Camp Creepy for downright creepy. And there's like a haunted doll room, which I have the haunted doll sitting here looking at me right now. With an EMF meter ahead of it. So there's stuff like that. There's board games. There's video arcade games.
There's a D&D room. I remember seeing a D&D room. I fell down some hole accidentally and ended up in the D&D room.
And you can play D&D. Yeah, you can actually play D&D in there with friends.
And the funny thing is, this website, our podcast actually started because me and Chris met at a D&D game.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, your design for that I love, because me and Chris have both been regular comers to the Screenland, Alamo, and stuff like that over the years that we lived in Kansas. I lived in Kansas City, and he still does. But I love how much it does look like the lobby. It reminds me exactly of the lobby of the Screenland. So that's really cool.
I tried. Yeah, we got all
So
four
was-
theaters in there.
So I love the virtual Panic Fest. It means people from around the country can experience it. But so was that always the plan, or is it in response to pandemic?
Completely pandemic driven. We normally have the festival in January each year. We shifted to April primarily because of the pandemic.
Sure.
We were wanting to try and add some buffer and enough time. And of course, we have to plan on the dates months in advance to try and be like, all right, we're going to announce the dates now. So we were just kind of guessing pandemic wise of like, all right, shots should be available. It should start to feel a little safer in general by April versus January. And for the most part, we're starting to get there, but not quite there. So we did 50% capacity, 50% theaters, and relied heavily on virtual. And we had a goal in mind, and we're like, look, let's just get through the year. And our programming arguably might have been the best it's ever been that year. And we had our best attendance ever that year because of virtual. So I mean, it was a happy accident. And until studios and independent filmmakers say no, we'll continue to at least offer virtual and hybrid. Which I love, because then with hybrid, you don't see something in theaters. You got to make that tough choice on your schedule. You can potentially, if it's available on virtual, go see it later in the week. So
I definitely did that when I came last year. I saw 14 films over the weekend. I'm like, well, I'm home. I want to watch more. So I definitely got like, for example, Duncan, now it's the Pizzagate Massacre. Was something I saw at home that I really wish I saw in theaters because I loved it so much. But
and I do love that you made us part of the media format for this year, because last year I couldn't get them to shut up about it, and I couldn't go because I moved here to Tulsa at the time. And this year now, because of all the stuff that you have virtually, that I've been able to. I mean, like last week we got to see When the Screaming Starts. Have you got a chance to watch that yet?
Yeah. I'll say I started to watch the first part of it because Adam, it was kind of the pre-screener. Like, I'll do that with Adam sometimes and be like, I think this is going to be good. You need to check it out. Like,
oh my gosh.
Check it, like, make it the priority type of thing, right?
Yeah,
like, push it to the front.
This is like a top priority. Like, the moment that this thing goes nationwide, where people can view it everywhere, it'll be one of our episodes, definitely. Yeah. Because it very, very. The only way I like to say to people is what we do in shadows. It's very much feels that like that vibe. But they have a twist in there, which I really love. So, good guys, too. Connor and Ed, we had a great conversation with them earlier.
Yeah, it's really well made.
Yeah, for sure. So, in these past 10 fests, what's been the biggest challenge? Like, not pandemic-wise, but, Yeah,
I think for Adam and I, pre-planning continues to start earlier and earlier in the fest. Like, we opened submissions, I think, at the end of July this year. Normally, we would have done that in, I think October, November. So I bring that up because we're always like, well, how are we going to top what we did last year? What can we do different to make it, like, even more exciting from last year? And so we always start with guest, because a lot of times films we don't really know from submission standpoint or what's going to be available from the studios, especially now when things get pushed out and stuff. So programming wise, we really don't know how that's going to unfold until we get toward the end of the submissions. At that point, we've got a list in place, and it's a matter of like, will something get knocked out from new stuff that comes in, and what's going to be available from Fest previously. So like Sundance and South by, which aren't genre fest but have genre films, we might be the first genre fest to get first run of that. So for us, it's always about like, how can we make the fest better each year and different? And there's some staples that we've kept because they're kind of fan favorites, like Joe Lynch. We just keep bringing him back because he's like a friend of ours now. And if we can just bring him in and hang out and he can show us a movie and talk about something weird, then we're all for that. So yeah, we've got some staples in there, and Nightmare Junkhead, who are kind of our podcast ambassadors that help everyone get acclimated, and set up, and good
guys over Nightmare Junkhead. It's a good podcast.
And great host. So yeah, our biggest challenge is just trying to keep things fresh, bring things in that we like that worked before, and then mix in the new stuff. And for me, the hardest part is apparently trimming down short films. I just keep taking more and more. So
I guess you've done 10 festivals. You said you did twice one year. What year did you guys do it twice?
Yeah, so it was the first year. 2013, we did it in the first one we did in January, I think. I'm remembering this correctly. The first one we did in April. And we did it at Screenland Armor and Screenland Crossroads.
Oh,
and we
sure,
just,
yeah.
We
Okay.
just did it on the weekends. So we didn't have the middle part of the fest because we were like, well, it makes more sense maybe to just put it on 2 weekends because we didn't have as many films then. We had
Sure.
Right.
20 maybe, like with shorts. I don't remember exactly. And then we were like, well, the release window in January makes more sense. Like at the theater, it's more dead. We might get an advanced peek at some spring stuff. We might get some submissions from previous fests, kind of tailing off from the previous year. So like, well, let's just do it in January. And so we're like, okay. So we technically did it within a year span,
Jeez.
not even. But we were just thinking about this the other day. We've done like 3 fests within 2 years now because we did Tricks or Treats during the pandemic. As kind of a stopgap. We ended up having
Oh, wow.
several premieres on that virtually, but that was all virtual. And then we did, the Panic Fest in between those two. So it was kind of wedged in the middle. So we actually did like 3 within a 2-year span then.
So since you've done this for, 9 years, but, 10 altogether celebrations, what are some of the key points, like some of the memories that you have over the last 10 years where you're like, man, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe we did that or we were part of something like so great like that.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this. Adam and I were compiling the top 25 films that we had screened. And the one that sticks out most to me, looking back on it, is What We Do in the Shadows, which you mentioned earlier. Like, how did we screen that? It's so early.
Because now Tiki's like freaking everywhere, Like the guy does Marvel movies and Star Wars.
I feel like I need to ask Adam this because he would have the file, I hope. I feel like he did an intro for the film for Panic Fest. I might be wrong about that since it's been so long ago, but that's a memory and like something that always sticks out to me, even though it was, I think, 2016, if I'm recalling that correctly. Like, wow, how did we get that film? And based on what it turned into and spun into and TV series and what those guys have done.
Action figures and coffee mugs and my wife wears like 2 or 3 of their t-shirts.
Yeah, it's wild that we got that. That's the thing I think that sticks out the most.
So moving forward, like I know that you guys probably every year figure out how you're going to top it, but do you have like a goal in mind?
Oh, man. I mean, we've never truly sat down and discussed it because I don't know what it would ever mean.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
What if it ever spills outside of Screenland? What if it expands at some point? I don't know what that would even look like landscape-wise, but
Sure.
A little probably weird for the audience to hear, but like, we have a streetcar that's eventually going to make its way from downtown over the river into North Kansas City.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, that is a bridge to transportation that could open up doors for expanding, but I don't know if that's truly possible. It's always something in the back of my mind, though. What does 20 years look like? Are we going to be around in 20 years? How can we expand it? So I think that's the biggest thing in my head. I feel like it's a weird, like, what's the downtown baseball park question kind of type of thing.
Are they still talking about that in Kansas City?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh my! I used to live at the River Market. I'm just like, every time they brought that up, it's like, no, I don't need more traffic down here. I'm good. It's like...
I know, but yeah, it feels like that type of thing, or it's something we need to consider maybe 20 years. But yeah, I think in terms of expanding it, we want to probably continue to bring in the extra stuff. Like, the films are always great, but it's kind of the break from the films and some of that.
Sure.
Special or tying guests to the films, right? Like special events that way.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that I think are always interesting and maybe unexpected a little bit. Outside of landing a major studio film early, like the Black Phone type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are probably the things we'd most look forward to, is continuing those studio relationships to mix in with our independent films to give you guys a early look at something big.
Yeah, I know Dashcam has a Blue Mouse one that's premiering this fest, and everyone's really excited about it. So
Yeah.
Well, you watched it last night, didn't you?
yeah, I did.
Nice. Yeah.
It's. I have so many questions for them. We're going to talk to them probably Friday morning, and I have so many questions written down about that movie.
He's like, did I watch a movie? Was it? No. No.
Was the footage? Yeah, Rob Savage that did Host, which blew up during the pandemic because of how they shot it, and man, it's really spun into something cool for him opportunity-wise. And there's talks about Lionsgate redoing the Blair Witch and rebooting it, and his name's getting tossed around for that because of the medium he's been working in. So I think it's really cool.
We actually talked about that our last episode. Actually, was talking about the Blair Witch Project being rebooted again.
Yep.
Now, you being like, since you created Panic Fest, and you're obviously a big horror movie fan, everything from downright creepy to the Panic Fest, of course. What are some of your influential, what are some of your favorite horror? I'm not going to say what's your singular favorite. I hate doing the singular favorite because there's no such thing. What are some of the horror movies that you really enjoy that motivates you into doing this?
Yeah, gosh. In terms of influence, I think like a lot of horror fans that are probably our age, started at VHS stores, Blockbuster Video World. My dad and mom taking me there. My dad would take me for the horror movies. My mom would take me for games. But the memories there, I think, for films in general, is kind of where it started. And then the love for Halloween and the crossover for horror films on that. Mm-hmm. My mom really encouraged the Halloween side of things. So I think it's just kind of always been there. And I feel like children's of the 80s and 90s especially gravitate toward it just because it's nostalgic too. And it was such a almost pop culture thing, even more back then, because it was just exploding with, toys and merchandise, and Freddy, which was becoming just like a fountain of merchandise, I feel like. So I think that at a baseline, but if we go into films, I love Halloween. I love The Shining.
Right.
Like staples. I also, I think more modern, I'd say The Strangers. I really love The Strangers.
The Strangers are very, I feel like it's not talked about as much in horror conversations as it needs to be.
And it's been around for, over a decade now. But Brian Bertino, who is the director of that, also did a film last year that I really loved. And I'm trying to think of the name of it, which is funny because I'm like, I really loved it. It was my favorite film, but it had kind of a long title, and I'm completely blanking on it, probably because of sleep. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's going to annoy the hell out of me. But yeah, I was trying to think of some more modern day ones that really had influence on me and struck me. I think from a movie going experience more recently too, Hereditary.
Oh yes, that's the Ari Aster stuff is blowing my mind now.
Somehow made me feel, which doesn't happen very often, just very uncomfortable when I was in the theater.
Are you talking about? Wait! I looked up his IMDb. Are you talking about The Dark and the Wicked?
Yes, Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Dude, that one took me by surprise and really punched me in the gut. I was like, oh man, this is great.
That was a good movie. Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
We have been literally with our podcast. I swear to God, it is all the A24s, the Blumhouse, all of them, just throwing out. I think if it wasn't for those two studios alone, we would not have good horror movies coming out in this time frame, because everybody else is kind of just rebooting, recapping, redoing the same thing over and over again. And A24 is actually giving you things like Midsummer, where it's the brightest horror movie you've probably ever seen in your life.
Or X. Ty West's new X is the best one I think he's ever done. So
X is amazing. Have you seen that one?
We tried. It's funny. We were at South by. I think we saw every genre film, we all kind of divided and conquered. Mm-hmm. I think we saw every genre film we wanted, and that was the one kind of at the end of the night we're we'll just all go to it because we don't have anything else to go through and cover at this point. We got in line, we were 20 people deep before they cut us off.
Oh no!
But the thing was that Adam had it like at the theater already because it came out in 3 days, and he's like, "Well, I probably have the print at the theater, or the file at the theater right now, waiting for me when I get back anyway." So it wasn't that big a deal for him. And then honestly, it was going to come out a week later. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to go see that. I was between. You mentioned this kind of before we started, between being buried and Fatherhood and Panic Fest. I was like, I'm not even going to be able to see that.
There's some things because as me, not only do I do the movie website, I work in radio. Also, I do stuff for pro wrestling stuff. I do like I'm a fan of like I'm a super geek. Like where my thing is just there's some. As soon as I get out of here, I literally am running to a radio station to do stuff. And then I got to do another thing. Like I'm busy until 3 a.m. in the morning tonight.
Yeah, I wanted to see it. I was following along on Twitter the back and forth of like, this is the worst movie he's made, this is the best movie he's made.
My god,
which is really any movie, right?
Yeah, sure. So. Yeah, it's something else. Is I like his other films, but this one to me is the one that gets more immediate. I love his stuff slow burn, so this one it was amazing, and I can't wait to see what else he does after this. You
mentioned A24 too. Something else we saw at South by. You guys should check out. That's coming out, I think, in June or August. Is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. The trailer just dropped today. It's from A24. It's a weird kind of whodunit, but it's a horror comedy, and Pete Davidson's in it actually, which is
my gosh, he is
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was the girl from Maria Bakalov. That was from Borat.
Subsequent movie film, yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So yeah, that's one you guys should get on your radar.
Oh no, that's on the radar. I got it now. That's definitely might be my next tattoo. Bodies, bodies. Right there.
The poster's pretty cool. So yeah, keep that on your radar. Just bring that up because I just saw the trailer for it today. It just dropped. So,
Tim, I want to keep you being on the podcast. By the way, this is truly a thrill, and I can't wait for Thursday and every day after that.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you asking. We've still got some passes available. I think we're going to cut them off tomorrow. Single tickets will be available at walk-up probably only at that point for a few films. But yeah, we've got some stuff already selling out. But if anyone wants to know anything, you can follow us like literally everywhere at Panic Film Fest or panicfilmfest.com.
Yeah, they got information at panicfilmfest.com. They're also on they got photos at Instagram, which is at Panic Film Fest as well. I mean everything you can. I mean, and you're the designer for all this stuff, right? That's what I'm getting from everything I'm reading here. Like some of this, dude, I want you to design me a tattoo. I literally want to get your work tattooed on me because I was going. Go ahead.
I was gonna say someone did. From a festival last year, was it? So it was interesting because, side tangent slightly, the eye from our cat design from 2019 was done by a friend of mine who is a tattoo artist. And so I used that cat design, and then I pulled the eye that was out of the forehead as a design element to keep using. And so that is the one that someone got tattooed on them, ironically designed by a tattoo artist. So, yeah, that was kind of funny. But yeah, most of the stuff that you see, like 90% of it is stuff that I have to crank out for the fest. So.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I literally would buy like button-up shirts with the designs.
I got what's going on. So where this one's.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, see?
I'll keep that in mind.
So just a few things so we can get all the information out there to our listeners. So besides Panic Film Fest, if you can't go to Kansas City, there are ways to buy virtual tickets to watch virtual shows. Am I correct on saying that?
Yeah, that's correct. And those will be unlimited. So you can buy those. We have some caps on the screenings themselves, but it's like 500 or something like that, or 250 on some. So we typically don't see those sell out, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, the virtual passes are available. You can also buy the single tickets on the virtual platform.
Okay, because I know I'm not going to be there this weekend, but I am coming down next weekend, so I know I'm going to be coming in there. Because not only am I coming there for that, but also Vampire Prom's going on Saturday night next week. Which was funny because the two guys that were doing it, one texts my wife and the other one texts me, like within the same hour. It's like
I did see
hilarious.
that. Yeah. I saw that was
So-
going on. Yeah, the second weekend of Panic is more chill. It's usually our best of fest programming. So whatever performed the best during the week and the weekend, we reprogram that weekend for in-person experience. But yeah, everything is that's available online. You can go on Panic Film Fest and click on Choose Your Schedule, and you'll see which ones are exclusive in theater or exclusive online, and that'll help you build your schedule out too, because you may see something that's online that's also in theater, but you'll want to go see the movie that's in theater only first to make sure you see it. And then if you have to, catch the other one online later. So something to keep in mind.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for being on, and I can't wait for this weekend. For basically starting Thursday on, I'll be there for everything. It's like, super exciting. So
Awesome,
Okay.
man. Thanks for
really
the time.
quick, Chris, let me do an outro real quick, and
Yeah, I got
then
you.
we'll get everybody out of here so we can all go, so he can take a nap and I can run to a studio and you can go
I
feed
gotta
your
get to
dog.
work. Yeah,
Or you gotta go back to work?
yeah.
Yeah, I got to mow the
dude.
lawn.
I just weeded the lawn. Literally, like, I weeded the lawn and took a shower, came straight in.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, after the age of 35, man, it's not fun anymore.
No, it is not. It is not at all.
Just keep going.
I need 12-hour days so I can just sleep faster.
I need to be able to only sleep 2 hours a day, so
I know.
everything. Because when do I get chances to play video games or read a
I
book I
know.
want to read, or
Never happens
just
anymore.
sit down and do something? All right, that's going to do it here for me and Chris from Movies Don't Suck and Something to Do. We have Tim Canton here, and we're doing Panic Fest. Now, remember, Panic Fest is going to be in North Kansas City at the Screenland. You can go there. You can buy tickets at panicfilmfest.com. It is from April 28th to May 8th, and it is some of the best movies in horror. Me and Chris have had the chance to talk to some of the directors, actors, and see some of the films. You will believe me, if you like anything in the horror, thriller, psychology, anything like that you just love, you are going to enjoy it, guys. Thank you, Tim, for coming out, and thank you for being a part of Movies Don't Suck and Something to Do Panic Fest review. All right, you hit the music there for a second? Yeah. And of course, since this wasn't live, everything will be in edit.